Let me just open up, you can chant along with me. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Okay, Umoto asked me if I would speak about dana today. And I had written, actually I had a talk posted on my blog about that, and he was hoping I might cover some of the same area I did in my blog. Dana, of course, in English, generosity or giving. It really means literally giving. In Pali, is a fundamental, probably the fundamental practice of Buddhism. Some people in the West think meditation's the fundamental practice. I think dana is where Buddhist practice starts. It is something that anybody can engage in with very little instruction, and it's something that is easy and actually delightful to do. So I wanted to talk a little bit about dana and hopefully something about what the basis of dana is, but also what it means, why dana is such an important part of a Buddhist community, and specifically. Some of you might not be aware of that because Burma is largely a big Buddhist community. If you have not been outside of that community, you may have a different experience. So let me start by I'm going to recite a little bit in English of the Dana Sutta. So the Buddha's discourse on dana, it's in the Anguttara Nikaya. And it, in a very simple way, kind of shows what's right at the heart of dana and how you investigate dana as a practice, as a Buddhist practice. In the sutta, it actually starts with Sariputta meeting with a group of lay people. And the lay people actually request an audience with the Buddha. They want to hear the Buddha give a Dhamma talk. And so Sariputta takes them to the Buddha. He actually arranges for the talk the next day. And then he asks a question that he probably knew the answer to, but I think he was feeding this to the question as a topic for the Buddha, so that he thought the Buddha might talk about in a way that would be useful to the lay people present. So what Sariputta asks the Buddha is, might there be the case where a person gives a gift of a certain sort and it does not bear great fruit or great benefit, whereas another person gives a gift of the same sort and it bears great fruit and great benefit? So this is the question. So in other words, doing exactly the same thing, giving a gift, sometimes may bring great merit and sometimes may not. So you can imagine, just to make it concrete, suppose I hand you a book. Is that a meritorious thing or not? I give you this book. Well, it depends on why I gave you that book. Maybe you're paying for that book. I give you the book, you give me back some money. Does that have merit? Maybe I know that this is a book that I really like. It has nice pictures in it, but I know that you really like this book and you don't have many books like this, and I give you that book. That is a different case. Maybe I give you the book because I know somebody's watching. Say my boss from work is watching, and I want him to think I'm a good person. And so, so I wait for him, to walk by, and that's the point I chose. Here, this book is for you. How much merit does that have?
Nothing.
And as soon as the boss goes by, I say, "Give me that." So actually, we can kind of guess what the answer was. So the Buddha actually gives 7 different cases where the merit will differ. And the first case is the least merit. And he shows that they differ because for each one, he predicts that you will be born into a different heavenly realm. So all of them have some merit. But as we go along, you get born into a higher and higher heavenly realm. And for the last one, you will be born into a heavenly realm, never to return to this world again. It means you're a non-returner, a anagami. Okay, so he gives the case. Having given this gift, seeking his own profit, with a mind attached, seeking to store up for himself, I'll enjoy this after death. This is the least meritorious. So if I give you the book, but I'm trying to get something out of it for myself, he actually says that it gives you some merit, but the least amount. So this would be the example where I give you the book, but I expect you to pay me a lot of money for it. Or I have some other case. It would also predict the case where my boss is walking by. I'm getting something out of giving the book for me. So this is not pure dana. The interesting part is here, if you give the book because you hope that by giving that book, you will be born into a good heavenly realm. That is low merit because you're doing it for yourself. Okay, so this is a very fine point because we normally think, and when you look at these, you'll find that actually when you do dana, your motives are actually very mixed. There's a little bit of, maybe all of these things in them. Okay, the next highest merit is, instead he gives a gift with the thought, giving is good. Okay, now that seems pretty pure. He's been taught, he's gone to somebody's Dhamma talk where he's talked about dana, and so he goes home and he thinks, giving is a good thing. I'm going to give. The Buddha thought people should give. People should be generous. I'm going to give. So that contains some merit, but it's still not the highest merit. Okay, or instead of thinking giving is good, he gives a gift with the thought, this was given in the past, done in the past by my father and grandfather. It would be not right for me to let this old family custom be discontinued. Okay, in this case, you're just continuing a tradition. Your family has always given alms to the monks, so you don't want to be the one to break the tradition. This is a little more meritorious. Okay, the next example the Buddha gives, number 4, or instead he gives a gift with the thought, I'm well off. These are not well off, these other people. It would not be right for me, being well off, not to give a gift to those who are not well off. So here you see kindness playing a role in your choice. You think, I've got all this food here, and that guy's hungry, I'll give him food. I've got all of these books here, that guy doesn't have a book, I'll give him a book. I hope he likes to read. And then the next one, or instead he gives a gift with the thought, just as there were great sacrifices of the sages of the past, in the same way, this will be my distribution of gifts. So here it's again referring to tradition. There have been people that have made great sacrifices for other people. So I should be capable of making a great sacrifice. So this is getting to be, fairly pure merit, a higher degree of merit. So the sense of being able to make a sacrifice on somebody else's behalf. Or instead he gives a gift with the thought, when this gift of mine is given, it makes the mind serene, gratification and joy arise. Okay, now it's not even a matter of tradition or obligation, but it simply feels good to give. The mind becomes serene, and gratification and joy arise from the gift. Okay, this is the feeling that really characterizes most giving for generous people, I think. Okay, that will give a very high degree of merit. You will be reborn in a very high heavenly realm, but you will return to earth again. There's one that's higher than that. He says, he gives the gift with the thought, this is an ornament for the mind, a support for the mind. On the breakup of the body after death, he reappears in the company of Brahma's retinue, and having exhausted that action, that power, that status, that sovereignty, he is a non-returner. He does not come back to this world. So this one is actually a little bit mysterious. You give because this is an ornament for the mind, a support for the mind. Okay, so this is a little harder to interpret. That joy you feel from giving, that gratification and joy, the feeling of serenity for giving, I'm sure everybody's experienced here at some point. What does it mean to be an ornament for the mind, a support for the mind? When we look at this, we notice that, as always, what is important for the Buddha is not the action itself, but the thought behind the action. Okay? So this fits in with the Buddha's concept of kamma. Kamma, before the Buddha, for the Brahmins, it meant ritual action to guarantee future happiness. You perform a certain action and you perform it in the right way. You get all of the words right and everything. For the Buddha, he said, no. To guarantee future happiness, you look at the mind. What's the mind doing? Intention is everything. So what am I doing with my mind when I give? If I am thinking of myself when I give, the intention is not so great, and so that's why the merit is lower. If it is just pure, selfless giving out of kindness, out of the willingness to let go and not hang on to anything, the merit is very high. And it doesn't have so much to do with how much you give. That is it has to do with your intentions. A very wealthy person to gain that merit usually has to have usually gives much more, because the same intentions will entail giving more because they can afford more. So this is a brief exposition of how we look at our own minds. This is why we meditate, so we can look at our own minds carefully when we're engaged in the act of giving. Okay, I want to return to this ornament of the mind, support for the mind, in a minute. But in the meantime, I want to talk about giving as a community practice. This is something that I've rarely seen described in the literature, but it's something that's very apparent in Buddhist communities.